This week on Cinema Beach, power to the people.
Hello and welcome to Cinema Beach. I'm Brian Thompson.
And I'm Tony Ortiz. Cinema Beach brings you the latest news and reviews from the Art House, courtesy of CinemaBeach.com.
That's right. We're in New Digs today.
We are. The Art House in Long Beach, California.
The Art Theater, yeah.
Yeah, the Art Theater. Oh, what did I say?
The Art House.
Beach? The Art House? What is? The Art.
Yeah, it's actually
Theater?
one of my favorite theaters around here in Southern California. It's an independent theater and plays all indie films pretty much, and it's kind of local to us here too.
Yeah, it is well, I just live right across the street. So
yeah, you got to just
super
walk
local
here.
to me, so
walk here
nice.
today, and so if you're ever in town, come on down and check out a movie down here in Tony's neighborhood and eat at Lola's across the street. It's a great place. So
Yeah, number 9. They have a bunch of cool spots around here.
yeah,
The vintage store district.
it's kind of the art area around here.
So come on down, check it out. It's a great place.
Yeah.
What are we reviewing today?
We're going to talk about the Australian film Tomorrow When the War Began. Plus, we're going to flash back to Patrick Swayze when he was fighting the Russians. So,
Nice. Well, first we got the end of the news feed.
So, Tony, this week's show is dedicated to everyday people fighting the man. We're going to start with the MPA versus Harvey Weinstein. So, this week,
Nice.
kind of the big news. One of the biggest stories actually was Harvey Weinstein. Submitted this film Bully, which is a documentary about bullying in America, and he submitted it to the MPAA, and they came back and gave it an R rating, mostly because of some foul language in the movie. Harvey was very livid, and he said he's going to fight this. He actually went back to the MPAA and did the petition, and they still only gave him an R rating. It ended up being that it just didn't matter. There's no way that he was going to get the PG-13 that he wanted, even though he wanted the PG-13 so that way he can show the movie in schools and not have to worry about adults.
Petition.
Yeah.
and
So
fighting
this is kind of a big deal. Harvey kind of does this all the time.
Yeah,
but
he always fights the MPAA.
He did it with
Last year's film.
he did it with your Valentine. What was the?
Oh yeah, My Blue Valentine.
Yeah.
He did that, which thoroughly I thought deserved to be
the
the R-rated and
Yeah.
not NC-17.
Yeah. And there's that film. I don't know if you saw that film documentary a few years ago called "This Film Is Not Yet Rated." And they
Yes,
talk about
yes.
the MPAA and how they're kind of unfair against the indie films. But this is one of those situations. Harvey might be kind of right in this case, but at the same time, I kind of feel like the MPAA, they did their job, and Harvey's response was that he's going to actually, from now on, the Weinstein Company isn't going to submit any films to the MPAA. They're going to go unrated, and so. Sure, maybe the MPA needs to change, but is this going to be the action that kind of does it? That's the question.
I think so. I think that Harvey Weinstein pulls a lot of power. He obviously has been the pusher for a lot of things. The Weinstein Company obviously broke off and did their own thing, and
Yeah.
now this is just another kind of addition to what they're going to keep on doing. I kind of agree with him. I understand it, and I hope that something good comes of it. Hopefully,
Yeah.
The
The MPA definitely needs to change, but they have a reason for existing in this ratings board that they do, and the MPA's response on this was that while they agree that everybody should see this movie, it's their responsibility to let parents know about the content that's in a film, and it's a parent's responsibility to then judge for themselves. It's not the MPA, it's not Harvey Weinstein that says, hey, this movie should be seen by everybody. But on the flip side of that, a movie like Schindler's List got the obviously the hard R rating.
Yes,
Yeah,
it did.
And that's a movie that NBC famously played on primetime a few years ago, on a Sunday night, uncut. And so Harvey's being a little melodramatic here, saying like, hey, just because I got the R rating doesn't mean that no one's going to see this movie. If it's an important enough movie, people will see it. That's kind of the point.
I just feel that's Harvey's style.
Yeah.
Obviously he does this all the time. So I think just another way of publicity stunt
Yeah,
for
I
this
think so.
film. You
Yeah,
know
I
what I mean?
think
He
you're
does this.
probably right.
He did it with My Blue Valentine, and obviously it made more people go see it. So
Yeah.
either way, it's just Harvey being Harvey.
Yeah,
So,
I agree. Well, if you're interested in seeing Bully, it comes out at the end of March, it will be unrated, and you'll have to kind of figure out which theater to go see it.
I don't
in.
think AMC theaters.
They don't really play the unrated stuff. Yeah.
So
but if you do want to see it, I mean, there's this new thing that we're talking about.
Now, Tug.com, which is kind of a cool new thing. I think we were talking about before. It's kind of like the Kickstarter or a Groupon kind of deal. Like it really helps to bring movies to major cinemas.
Yeah.
Basically, what you do is you kind of make a page for the film that you want to see, and then you have to get a certain amount of likes, or I don't know, it's not really called likes though. What is it called? Like
I think it's just
or something?
people who basically say, I will come to your event.
And once it gets a certain number, then the theaters will actually show what you want them to show.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty cool thing. It's in its startup phase now.
It's a beta. It's beta.
I signed up for it the other day, because I wanted to check it out. But they don't really have anything yet. I think they have Bullhead and
they had 2 movies, right?
Yeah, something else, probably The Artist or something.
No.
The Weinstein Company is kind of interested in doing it. Alamo Drafthouse is kind of signing up for it, and I think they've already negotiated with AMC. So it's basically if you want to see a movie in your neighborhood, which is kind of the impetus for what we're doing here on the podcast. We talk about these great movies that no one can see, and here's a chance that you can actually bring the movie to a theater to you. So
it's nice because sometimes even us who are avid to see movies, sometimes it's a drive just to see a movie that you really want to see.
Yeah.
And I don't think everyone has. Some people don't have that opportunity. I mean, if you're in like Arizona or something like that, you're definitely not going to see some of these movies.
Yeah, we're fortunate to be here in Southern California, but we still have to drive to LA.
Yeah. And so I think that's what will make this better. It's like maybe if you get enough people, you really rally against a film, they'll show it.
Yeah.
And,
it's a great idea. I mean, I'm really excited. I hope it takes off. So
me too.
One final thing, I wanted to talk about this great trailer that came out called Sound of Noise. Hopefully, Tug will get it, and maybe we can request it here in Long Beach. But have you seen this trailer?
Yes, I have, and it looks hilarious.
Swedish film.
Ska ni veta att vissa saker är olagligt, men det kommer bli ett fantastiskt verk.
Not only does it look fun, but it actually looks like the kind of movie you're probably going to go out afterwards and want to like bang on stuff.
Exactly.
It's like watching Stomp or,
Yeah. I think if you're going to see the movie, you got to bring a pair of drumsticks with you. So.
Bang away and stuff like that. So
very cool.
It looks really fun. And they already won like a couple of like
at
awards.
Fantastic Fest. Yeah. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see it.
It'd be fun to see. So up next, I guess we're going to be talking about Tomorrow When the War Began.
Yeah. Check it out.
For more film news, check out the indie newsfeed at CinemaBeach.com. From trailers to casting announcements, film festival news to production updates, the newsfeed at Cinema Beach is your best source for indie film news. While you're there, subscribe to our RSS feed and don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Twitter.
How about a trip before we go back to school? We'll get a bunch of us together and go further up the river than we've ever been before.
Hey, you can see Cobbler's Bay from here.
What is this? Makeup?
Homer, do you even know where we're going?
There's a clearing up ahead.
So beautiful out here. Let's do this again, back here in the same place.
The same people. Mama! Papa!
Hello? There's no dial tone.
What is going on?
Occupying forces have now taken several major coastal cities.
Any idea whose army it is? It doesn't matter who they are because they're here now and we just got to deal with it. I don't know about you guys. I'm not so good at doing nothing.
People are dying out there.
Everything's a risk from now on.
We know this country better than they do. We can use that to our advantage. We can go out there using hit-and-run tactics.
We have to start acting like soldiers.
I can't tell if what I did was right or wrong. In the end, I think we just have to trust our instincts.
What do your instincts tell you?
That it's time to go to war.
Based on the best-selling young adult novels by John Marsden, Tomorrow When the War Began is a movie about Australian teenagers battling an invading army in their small coastal town. It was the most expensive film Australia ever made and was the highest grossing domestic box office film for Australia back in 2010. It's basically Australia's take on the Hollywood big-budget blockbuster movies, straight down the line, basically. It's got the big explosions, the fast action, but it also has the poor script and even poorer performances. It is straight-up mimicry, and I really can't find anything original in this movie. Tony, can you, aside from the fact that they play rugby instead of football?
No, actually I can't. And that was pretty good alliteration there. Big budget blockbuster movies. So that was pretty good. I like that.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. No, this movie, to me, actually, I was gonna say it felt like the Twilight kind of take, that kind of tweeny kind of take on what we think of as like these big blockbuster.
Definitely. I mean, the movie
movies.
is marketed towards teens. It's toward that 15 to 25 demographic, and in that sense, I don't know. I mean, okay, so I guess right away I'll just say I kind of liked the movie.
Oh my gosh!
Because it is what it is. I mean, it is a bad movie. But it's also, I think it's a movie that, unfortunately, I mean, nobody's really going to hear about the film because it's kind of a small film. And the problem is that because it's an Australian movie, it can't compete with the big studio Hollywood blockbusters. But it's a movie that kind of follows those type of movies, and it does it well. I mean,
it does it well. It's shot well. I mean, it looks good.
Yeah.
I mean, everything about it's good except the acting. And since it did come from a book, I really feel that they chopped it down. I think it cuts to like an hour and 45 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
It's a really small film, but unlike movies that came from books like The Lord of the Rings or something like that, I'm just saying that because it's in Australia as well.
New Zealand. Yeah.
It really is quick. Like everything happens really fast
Yeah.
and really easy. I mean, the kids go on a trip in the outback, and 15 minutes into it, they're already like, "Oh, what's going on?"
Yeah,
and they
there's
really,
like World War III is happening.
Yeah, World War III is happening, and then they get there, they get back home, and all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, I guess we got to fight," and then all of a sudden, one fight takes place, and then all of a sudden, at the end of the movie, they are like in war attire, ready to take on a whole
it's not
army.
believable, but it's is any movie like this believable?
No, I don't think it's believable. I think the other problem I had with it is how easy just the whole thing was. I mean, these are like 6 kids, 7 total, and I would think it would be more like one has like skills like a computer skill or. Yeah, I mean, they all have like something that will, and maybe later on in the second and third and however many movies they're going to make in this. I mean, I
think they're planning to make 3 and then maybe a TV series is what they're saying.
Yeah,
But,
I mean, and it made money in Australia, so.
It unfortunately didn't make enough in Australia. It actually, while it's a successful domestic Australian film, it didn't make near as much money as a Hollywood movie plays in Australia. And that's kind of the weird thing about this movie is that should Australia even be trying to take on the Hollywood system? It's just kind of, I mean, you just can't do it. They do a good job, but there's no way that it's going to be successful. It's not $100 million return film.
No, I mean, well, I don't think that's going to happen. Yeah,
No.
But I do give them credit for what they're doing on the Facebook and everything like that.
We talked about that last week. We talked about what, and I will admit, I watched it on Facebook because I wanted to try out that service.
I watched it on Facebook as well, which I thought was good.
Yeah, it was a good service. Yeah.
So
the movie. Let's talk about. First of all, it was directed by Stuart Beattie, who is a well-known writer in Hollywood. He's an Australian guy, but he kind of immigrated to Hollywood, and he made this made this movie, wrote and directed this movie. He wrote Collateral,
Yes.
which was a great script.
Yeah.
And he wrote, I think, the sequels to Pirates of the Caribbean, and he's written quite a few other things. He does a good job with this film. It's directed well, and like you mentioned, the script it's tight. It does move, and I'd give him a lot of credit for this. I mean,
Yeah, I don't mean to sound like I'm dogging the movie because
it's okay.
It's just because once again, it's like a totally well polished film, as you said. The only problem with it is at the end, you're like, I could have just left it. If I saw it or not, my life wouldn't have changed.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, but I think for a movie it is targeted toward teenagers, it is a movie I think teenagers can relate to. The characters, in my opinion, while they're cliched, they are relatable. They're not overly kind of drawn out. I mean, they're not like these kind of crazy cliches. I don't know, maybe you disagree, but they're teenage characters, and they're not, they don't just automatically gung ho say, "All right, let's fight." There's one guy who does Homer, who's I think he's probably my favorite character in the movie, Homer, and he's played by this I can't remember his name. I'm gonna pull it up.
You're gonna look.
Yeah.
He plays like a Greek immigrant to Australia.
Yeah, Dennis Agdenis is his name. Agdenis. Dennis Agdenis.
Yeah.
He's fantastic in the movie. He's probably my favorite character in the movie.
I think so. And it's funny that I'm sure some of these kids are going on to do bigger and better things.
Definitely.
I mean, they all seem to have like the it quality, good looks, and acting.
And the funny
stuff
thing
like
about
that.
Australia, we always talk about Australian movies. Anybody who actually is successful out of Australia ends up going to Hollywood.
Yeah.
And so, the Russell Crowes, the Nicole Kidmans, the Mel Gibsons. These are
you're gonna see these kids eventually
Yeah.
somewhere. So once again, I just think that it'll be something based on actually what we're talking about for our DVD pick. I think that this movie falls in line with that. I'm sure people who are younger now will grow up thinking about this movie going, "Oh yeah, man, that movie was fun." And
for somebody like you and I mean, I don't think we necessarily can relate to the movie, but that's what I think. Ultimately, I'm saying you need to see the movie if you are, a teenager or a young adult. But the problem is I don't really think anybody like that's going to see the movie. It's an Australian movie. It's going to play in the art houses. So the people who are going to go see the movie are the.
I think it being on Facebook, though, I think that's why they were actually targeting like Facebook and stuff like that,
I think
because
so.
where we have seen, I could count like a number amount of movies that follow this same plot line or the same kind of story. Young kids haven't, and so putting it on Facebook and stuff like that, they're more adapt to the new media.
Yeah.
And so this will catch their eye. It's already has like a couple thousand, like 6,000 likes or something like that.
Well,
and
worldwide. I mean, it was a very successful film in Australia, and the books are incredibly successful in Australia. I mean, they teach it in like Australian literature classes.
well, there you go. So
We gotta fight back.
If anything happens, run.
For us, this war begins tomorrow.
I think people should check it out one way or another. Check it out. It is playing on demand on Facebook or on Apple. I think Apple even has
Apple
it.
has it in a couple art houses around town. Not here at the theater, but other places.
So definitely check it out. Next up, we're talking about before the Australian kids were doing it in the Outback. We were doing it here first with Patrick Swayze in the bunch.
Our review of Red Dawn. Stay tuned.
To check out more about this movie, head on over to the review section at CinemaBeach.com. Read the complete review, or check out the other reviews on the site. Updated weekly, we've got you covered on all the films playing in Southern California's art houses. You can also browse our archives for past reviews from all our contributors.
What's going on here, my friend?
This is the emergency broadcast system. We are under attack by conventional forces of the Russian army. It is believed the lead waves were disguised as commercial charter flights. Communications have broken down with other parts of the country. Large areas of the Midwest may have been overrun.
In
know who all of you are. They're looking for you.
You're 40 miles behind enemy lines.
I just want to go home. They took a lot of people away.
Where's my dad, Mr. Eckert?
I want to love somebody, Andy. I'm going to die before it happens.
George! They're gonna kill us! All of us!
So why should we be different?
Because we live here!
Not bad for a bunch of kids, huh? Mama'd be real proud.
In 1984, America was nearing the end of the Cold War, but you wouldn't know it from Red Dawn, John Milius's ode to red-blooded jingoism and this beautiful country we call the land of the free. Before Patrick Swayze was lifting Jennifer Grey in Dirty Dancing, the two were toting machine guns as they battled World War III on American soil. Joined by a young Charlie Sheen, C. Thomas Howell, Leah Thompson, and a bunch of other ones, the group basically forms a kind of a ragtag insurgent, army against the Russians and the Cubans. And, the movie was kind of a hallmark of its day. It was definitely controversial in its portrayal of violence. And while it does hold a piece of film history, it's not really a good movie. I mean, Tony, it's not.
No. It's definitely not. What's funny is obviously the movie we just talked about, Tomorrow When the War Began. I feel the same way. I'm sure my parents or someone in their 30s were probably looking at that film going, that was pretty bad. But as a kid, I loved the movie. It was fun, and it kind of holds a little bit of nostalgia to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a cult movie because I think people, our age are now like, revisiting the movie, or they remember it basically. I think actually, because when I saw it as a kid, I loved the movie. And I think one of the things about the movie is that it's bad because the movie it's almost like kids directed the movie, or like, like do you remember in Rushmore when
Yes.
when they staged the play?
The play. It's exactly.
Yeah, it's basically the kids say what you would expect soldiers to say. Like they're acting like they're older than they are, and
I think almost that's the beauty in it. You know what I mean? It's fun movie. Obviously, it's like the launch pad for Charlie Sheen.
Yeah, it was his first movie. And
pretty much all those actors. I mean, once again, as we were talking about earlier, this movie had Jennifer Grey and Patrick Swayze together.
Yeah.
This is a couple years before Dirty Dancing comes out. C. Thomas Howell, who went on to be in the 80s a pretty big actor.
Yeah. It's got some adult cameos as well. It's got Harry Dean Stanton who's yelling, "Avenge me!" and it's so bad, but it's Harry Dean Stanton.
Yeah.
And it's got Powers Booth, who kind of comes in and does his kind of crazy thing for a little bit, but
and in a time too, it's funny because in a time in the 80s when if you look about Rocky IV, he fought the Russian.
Yeah.
And there was ton of movies where we still had a common enemy.
Yeah.
And in a very innocent way. I think part of the reason why, just real fast recapping the last movie that we just reviewed, Tomorrow When the World Began, I just don't buy it anymore because of our technology. But we were so simple-minded back in the 80s. You know what I mean? It was like so easy just to go and fight a superpower like the Russians or the Cubans. It just seems so funny.
Red Dawn is dated because you're watching it and you're like, well, there's no way this would happen. But the weird thing is it actually is a little believable, but it's more believable, I think, as a premise back in the 80s, not necessarily today. Tomorrow When the War Began, I think, is a little believable as well in that it's it's not over the top like Red Dawn is. They don't just come
over the top.
Like the opening shot of Red Dawn is a bunch of Russians paratrooping onto a school, and it's like that would never happen. And it doesn't happen in Tomorrow When the War Began. These guys just kind of they come in on cars across a bridge. It's a little ridiculous in Red Dawn, but it is. I guess it's kind of it was feasible back then. I think in the 80s,
and it's very the movie is very 80s. It's pretty much what you would think of when you think of an 80s kind of action.
Yeah.
I mean, not a big budget. I I don't think it was.
No, it was low budget. Although they do a good job with the budget they have. There's some great, explosions, some great, fight sequences. But yeah, but it's I don't know, it's just so bad, and I'm not even going to equate it to the fact that it's dated. And I had a hard time actually even recommending this as our DVD pick, but I think it's one that we have to talk about because we're talking about Tomorrow When the War Began, and also they're remaking the movie.
Yes,
this year it's going to come out in November. Yeah, with
fight in
North Korea. Yeah,
so
it's got Chris Hemsworth or whatever who played Thor. Yeah. So they're trying to, I guess, kind of with what's in Tomorrow When the War Began. They're fighting Asians. These kind of unnamed Asians. So I think the new threat, while they're probably not the same as it was back in the Cold War, Asians could, I guess, do. So.
Fight. So it was. I mean, once again, though, I think about it as it was just a fun kind of '80s movie. I wanted to grow up to, I was like, wanted to be a Wolverine, which is like their pack there, and it was just fun. I mean, looking back at it now, I think we talked about it. Like I know in my mind, just going through the sequence again is not a good movie. Yeah, but.
Well, and here's the thing, and I'm going to get a little political here for a second, but you and I are kind of more blue state than red state, and this is a movie that it appeals to the kind of the diehard conservative, warmongering, Republican red state type people, and it's a movie I think as a kid, I think most kids are like, I want to fucking fight a war, I could take on, I can be older than I am, and when you get a little older, obviously our values have changed a little, but this is a movie I think would definitely appeal to the Republican red state type of,
Yeah, just the idea of like fighting the common enemy, which in today's world we don't really have. But.
And so the ironic thing here is that these kids who basically portray these like kind of insurgents who are battling to secure their homeland. Here we're in a war in Afghanistan. We've got the soldiers who probably grew up watching Red Dawn, that probably made them say, "Hey, I want to be a soldier," are now battling kid insurgents in Afghanistan who are doing exactly what their models were doing in the 80s. So,
well, that was pretty deep.
Yeah, it's very ironic. So in that sense, I went back and I watched Red Dawn a couple nights ago, and it's a movie that when I went back and watched it, I was like, oh, this is really, really bad. But I started kind of seeing new things in it. So I'm also kind of recommend it because I think it deserves another watching, especially in terms of what we're dealing with politically now. So.
Nice. Well, there you go. I mean, I'm sure you could still find that at Blockbuster or something. Don't know where you
Blockbuster
get
was in
anymore.
the 80s, and Blockbuster's not around.
Yeah, I don't know where people get movies anymore. I know it's not playing on Netflix. I guess you can
rent it on Netflix.
The DVD,
yeah, you get
right?
the DVD. It's not streaming. It is streaming on Amazon. You can buy it at most video stores too. So
I mean,
yeah.
Patrick Swayze.
Or
what can you
just
say?
Yeah, or watch the November remake. I guess this year. So.
Probably not. Probably not. It's not going to be. If I thought that one was bad, I can't imagine what the new one's going to be.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
Out on DVD this week, Answers to Nothing. Following in the footsteps of Crash, this LA-based multi-story character piece stars Dane Cook, Julie Benz, and Lost's Elizabeth Mitchell. It's a film about loss, and you'll feel you've lost a chunk of your life if you watch this one. I melt with you. 40-something college friends spend a weekend together in this trippy and often annoying film that stars Thomas Jane, Rob Lowe, and Jeremy Piven. Think The Hangover, but not funny, more drugs, and a pointless plot. And finally, the myth of the American sleepover. Growing up in Detroit and looking for love is tough. In this coming-of-age drama from David Robert Mitchell. The film was well received at festivals and is our top indie pick of the week.
Well, that's all the time we have for this episode. Next week we have Robert De Niro and Paul Dano epitomizing the starving writer and Bean Flynn.
Yeah,
so
looking forward to it.
Fun,
yeah. Big thanks to Ryan Chase and the Art Theater for hosting our show this week. Come out to the Art Theater next week to check out A Separation. They're playing. It's the Oscar winner for Best Foreign Film this year.
Yeah,
so.
I can't wait. Can't wait for that. That'll be awesome. Special thanks to our new addition and camera person this week, Jasmine, and the rest of the crew at Cinema Beach. I think that's it. I'm Tony Ortiz.
And I'm Brian Thompson. Thanks for watching.